And now Dr. Adam Keibel, the Chief of Urology at the Brigham and Women Hospital, and Dana-Farber. Doctor?
So, first of all, I'd like to thank Faye for inviting me to speak here today. I think the big thing we're going to find out in the next couple of minutes is if my eyesight or memory is better than Dr. Kantoff's. I've been told that I can read the slides out of the mirror, but I don't think I actually can, so we'll see if it's an eyesight. And also, it appears that the slides have been altered a little bit when I sent them. So this pie chart actually represents, to my mind, and it's not projecting very well, the issues to do with prostate cancer that we're talking about today. 80% of men develop prostate cancer during their lifetime. What that means, if you remove a man's prostate at death and you look at it under the microscope, you will find prostate cancer. About 16% of men, that's the next, I think it's magenta pie chart, are diagnosed with prostate cancer. And about 3% of American men die of prostate cancer. That makes it the second largest cancer killer after lung cancer. So the key thing that Dr. Kantoff was emphasizing is when we have those 16% of men and we treat them, how many of those men have we actually saved their lives and prevented them from ending up in the 3%? And how many of them were actually in the 80% that were just diagnosed with prostate cancer because it's part of being a man, getting older, having a big nose, getting big ears. Again, that's part of aging. This looks at all different cancer mortalities. The top one is lung cancer, which we've seen a huge decrease in the mortality from this disease. I think we all know why that's happening. That's because people are being encouraged not to smoke. I mean, when I was in high school, almost everybody smoked. Now, it's very rare. My kids talk about it an awful lot. The line just below is prostate cancer, and you can see how steep the death rate from prostate cancer has fallen. And if you actually, yeah, I think that does deserve a round of applause, okay? And if you look at all malignancies, and that's what's on this chart, all malignancies, and this is SEER data from 1988 to 2007, prostate cancer is at the bottom. It's good to be at the bottom in this slide, because that means that the mortality from this disease is falling faster than any other cancer in the United States, with a 4% drop in prostate cancer over the past roughly decade. 4% per year over the past decade. And why is this happening? Well, it's happening because of aggressive screening, aggressive treatment, and improvements in systemic therapy. And I basically want to talk about the same thing that Dr. Kantoff, which was talking about, is why, when you open the paper then, do you read stuff like this from the Washington Post, which says that, you know, we shouldn't be actually screening men for prostate cancer. And that was the U.S. task force. I think he highlighted many of the things that are wrong with that. But basically, I think they got the facts right, but the conclusions wrong. Okay? So these are the facts. And now I'm going to have to, PSA, clearly, I'm going to have problems reading this. Yeah, PSA detects prostate cancer when it's treatable. I think that's unequivocally true. Okay? And then does this say that PSA saves lives? He's telling me, he's my teleprompter, many men diagnosed with prostate cancer actually are at no harm for dying of the disease, though it clearly saves lives. And what does this last one say, Phil? Yeah, treatments for prostate cancer clearly have side effects. Anybody who says that is just not being honest, if they say they don't have any side effects from the treatment. So, what are the benefits of screening? I think I might actually have to walk over there just like he did. So, there were three studies that actually looked at PSA screening. And the task force really focused on the first one, which was done in the United States and didn't really show any benefit from screening. But there were two other studies, large studies, that have looked at this, which roughly halve the risk of dying of prostate cancer. And I think that the U.S. task force sort of glossed over these, in my opinion, and I think that both these studies are actually better studies, not worse studies, okay? The study from Europe, I'm going to get the figures a little bit wrong here, but the first study from Europe found that you had to screen about 1,000 men, okay, in order to identify about 37 men who had prostate cancer to save one life. The study from Sweden, you had to screen about 300 men in order to identify about 12 cancers in order to save one life. Now, that may seem like a lot of men treated in order to save one life, but we've heard at least 12 people up here today who said they were diagnosed with prostate cancer because of PSA screening. One of them wouldn't have been here. Would have been Senator Kerry, would have been Senator Donnelly. I don't really know. But the bottom line is that's an individual that's with us today, leading a productive life, hanging out with their family and friends, contributing to our society, who wouldn't be here if we didn't have PSA screening. So these are my conclusions, and I think I have to, let me just glance at it for a second. PSA screening, in my mind, clearly saves lives. There's no doubt about it. But we need to focus on the individuals who are actually going to benefit from screening. So as Dr. Tantoff outlined, we need to screen men who are going to live long enough in order to die of prostate cancer. It takes 10 years for prostate cancer to cause you harm. So if someone only has a 5-year life expectancy, it's a mistake to screen them. We need actually to focus, we need to focus on groups of men that are at highest risk, African Americans and men with family history. Those are men who are more likely to develop prostate cancer and more likely to die of prostate cancer. But this clearly doesn't mean that PSA screening is perfect. We need to find better tests, and we need to focus on better imaging. We need a radiologic biopsy, a way of looking at the cancer and having a better understanding of how aggressive it actually is. So this doesn't project very well because it's hard to make a three-dimensional image flat, but this is actually an MRI, a figure of an MRI of a patient that had prostate cancer that had one core of cancer, and was the kind of patient that we said, yeah, he doesn't need to be treated. And he actually, the green represents 5 different cancer foci. And this is the kind of patient that we would have said, you don't need to be treated, and in fact he did. And his life was probably saved by taking to the operating room and removing his prostate. So I view this actually, the recommendations from the U.S. Task Force as a call to arms. We need to use PSA wisely. We shouldn't use it in everybody indiscriminately. We need to develop new markers to identify who has aggressive prostate cancer so we can only treat the patients who are actually going to benefit. And we need to develop imaging modalities to do exactly the same thing. So thank you for the opportunity to talk in front of this group. Thank you.
And now I would like to introduce to you Dr. Hui Wen, who's the medical director of the Boston Public Health Commission. Doctor?
Thank you. I wanted to thank Faye and all of you who are here today, not only for raising awareness for prostate cancer, but probably more importantly, raising support for prostate cancer research. I'd also like to thank my colleagues, Drs. Kantoff and Kaibel, who are our local experts, for summarizing what is actually a very complicated clinical picture. Our analysis of population-level data at the Boston Public Health Commission agrees with much of what has been said here today. No matter where you live in Boston, over 9 out of 10 men over the age of 50 in this city have had a digital rectal exam within the past 5 years. Although this data show that many men are receiving this clinical screening test, prostate cancer remains the second leading cause of cancer deaths in Boston after lung cancer. And as is so effectively depicted in the banners on both sides here today, the statistics for black men in Boston are even more concerning. Not only are black men diagnosed with prostate cancer at higher rates than any other race or ethnicity, in 2007 in Boston, prostate cancer became the leading cause of cancer-related deaths of all black residents in Boston, outnumbering mortality from lung or breast cancer. As a primary care physician myself, I'm particularly moved by the stories that all of you have shared about having been personally affected by this disease. Mayor Menino and the Boston Public Health Commission are committed to working with all of you to support prostate cancer research, to find ways to reduce mortality from prostate cancer for all Boston residents, but particularly to eliminate this racial health disparity for black men in Boston. Thank you.
And now I would like to introduce to you Dr. Susan Wyndham-Bannister, President and CEO of Mass Life Sciences.
Hello, everyone. I'm really, really pleased to be here with you today. And the Life Sciences Center is very pleased to be one of the sponsors of the event this year. You've heard some very dramatic data by the speakers this morning. Again, in 2012 alone, it's estimated that about 242,000 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer. Over 28,000 men will die of prostate cancer. And the disproportionate share of those men will be men of color. As an African-American woman who lost my favorite uncle to prostate cancer, these data are very close to home for me. The Massachusetts Life Sciences Center, on behalf of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, is committed to supporting important ongoing research around the Commonwealth in order to accelerate the development and the commercialization of better diagnostics and treatments for prostate cancer. Again, we know that the diagnostics are as important as the treatment. Dr. Stern, and to all of the pioneers who were on the stage earlier, and to all of you who are doing great work in this area, I thank you. And I want to assure you that the state is your partner in this. And so what I would like to do is to share with you just a few examples of what Massachusetts is doing. I mean, you heard our legislators express their support, but let me give you some specific examples of how, with funding provided to us by the legislature, we are trying to make an impact. So in other words, how is Massachusetts walking the talk that you heard this morning? In 2011, the Massachusetts Life Sciences Center awarded the first $2 million of what is going to be a $10 million grant. You don't know what it's for yet. To establish a Center for Personalized Cancer Therapy on the campus of UMass Boston. This joint program involves Dana-Farber Cancer Institute and the Harvard Medical Cancer Institutes and Harvard Medical Centers, together with UMass Boston, to develop reliable and cost-effective tests to determine subtypes of common cancer. We talk about cancer as if it is really one disease. Many different types of cancers that have subtypes, different prognoses, and they respond differently to treatment. So the goal of this center is to allow physicians to prescribe treatments that are better adapted to each patient and each cancer and improve the chances of their recovery. An important goal of this center as well is to address racial, ethnic, and other disparities in cancer treatment through the advancement of personalized cancer therapies. In January 2012, the center awarded the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute a $10 million grant to support the expansion of its pioneering cancer imaging program. So this morning you've heard the importance of diagnostics, imaging, issues of disparities. This center that we're funding or partially funding for Dana-Farber is going to help Dana-Farber Cancer Institute's molecular cancer facility. This facility is going to allow physicians to better diagnose and characterize different types of cancers, choose targeted therapies, monitor the treatment effectively, and ultimately improve the outcomes for cancer patients. So in just the past year, on behalf of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, we have invested $20 million just in the year in better diagnostics through imaging, through other types of precision tests and treatments. Now, the center is also providing funding to companies that are bringing these new therapies